in the grand tapestry of history, woven with the threads of empires, wars, and legendary rulers. Some figures shine brightly in the annals of time, while others remain in the shadows, their contributions understated yet indispensable. Isabella of Portugal, wife of Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor, is one such figure. Her story is one of quiet strength, profound intelligence, and unwavering loyalty. An empress whose influence not only shaped the reign of one of the most powerful rulers in European history, but also left an enduring legacy through her children and the empire she helped sustain. Born on October 24, 1503, into the illustrious Portuguese house of Avish, Isabella grew up surrounded by the grandeur of a kingdom at the height of its maritime and economic power. Her father, King Manuel I of Portugal, was a monarch who presided over an age of discovery. As explorers like Vasco da Gama and Pedro Álvares Cabral expanded Portugal's reach to the far corners of the globe, Isabella's mother, Maria of Aragon, was a daughter of the Catholic monarchs Ferdinand and Isabella of Spain, tying her lineage to two of the most influential royal houses in Europe. From birth, Isabella was destined to play a pivotal role in the political theater of her era. Isabella's childhood was one of privilege but also of rigorous preparation. Educated at the Portuguese court, she was well-versed in theology, literature, and statecraft, skills deemed essential for a queen. Fluent in multiple languages, she had a sharp intellect and a profound understanding of diplomacy, qualities that would later define her role as both a regent and a mother. Her poise and grace were celebrated across Europe, and by the time she reached adulthood, Isabella was widely regarded as one of the most eligible princesses of her generation. The early 16th century was a period of profound change and turbulence in Europe. The Protestant Reformation, led by Martin Luther, was fracturing the religious unity of Christendom. Meanwhile, rivalries among European powers, most notably between the Habsburgs, the Valois kings of France, and the Ottoman Empire, were escalating. Amid this volatile landscape, alliances forged through marriage were as critical as those secured on the battlefield. It was within this context that Isabella was betrothed to Charles V, a man who, at the age of 19, had already ascended to the thrones of Spain, the Holy Roman Empire, and the Burgundian Netherlands, ruling an empire so vast that it was often said the sun never set on his domains. Their union was more than a marriage. It was a merging of empires. In 1526, Isabella traveled to Seville, where she married Charles in a grand ceremony befitting their station. The event was celebrated as a moment of unity between Spain and Portugal, a bond that would later prove critical in consolidating the Iberian Peninsula's role as the center of European power. Though their marriage was arranged, Charles and Isabella developed a deep and abiding affection for one another, a rarity in royal unions of the time. Charles admired Isabella's intellect and trusted her judgment, often referring to her as his only advisor. Isabella's influence became immediately apparent, as Charles was frequently absent from Spain, engaged in military campaigns and political negotiations across Europe. Isabella was entrusted with the regency of the Spanish kingdoms. This was no ceremonial role. It was a position of immense responsibility, requiring her to govern a diverse and often fractious realm. Under her leadership, Spain remained stable, its economy managed, and its people largely pacified despite the pressures of war and the religious upheavals sweeping the continent. Her tenure as regent demonstrated not only her administrative capabilities but also her political acumen. Isabella was a staunch supporter of the Catholic Church and worked tirelessly to uphold its influence in Spain. She understood the challenges posed by the Reformation and collaborated with Charles to counter its spread within their territories. Isabella's efforts to maintain religious unity were instrumental in solidifying Spain's position as a bastion of Catholicism, a legacy that would endure long after her death. Yet Isabella's contributions to Charles's empire were not confined to politics and governance. She was a patron of the arts and a champion of education, fostering a cultural renaissance at the Spanish court. Her support for scholars, artists, and theologians enriched the intellectual life of Spain, while her personal piety inspired a resurgence of religious devotion among the nobility. Through her actions, Isabella helped to shape the cultural identity of Spain during one of its most formative periods. As a mother, Isabella's impact was equally profound. She bore 5 children, 3 of whom survived to adulthood, including Philip II, who would go on to become one of Spain's most influential monarchs. Isabella took an active role in her children's upbringing, instilling in them the values of duty, faith, and loyalty. Her influence on Philip II was particularly significant. Under her guidance, he developed the sense of purpose and discipline that would define his reign. In many ways, Isabella's legacy lived on through her children, who carried forward her vision for the Habsburg dynasty. Tragically, Isabella's life was cut short in 1539, when she died at the age of 36 following complications from childbirth. Her death was a devastating blow to Charles, who mourned her deeply and never remarried. For the remainder of his life, Charles carried a portrait of Isabella with him, a constant reminder of the woman who had been his partner in both love and governance. Her loss marked a turning point in Charles's reign, as he increasingly withdrew from the public sphere, burdened by grief and the weight of empire. Isabella of Portugal may not be as well known as her husband, but her influence on the course of European history is undeniable. She was a queen, a regent, a mother, and a confidant, roles she fulfilled with grace and determination. Her story is a testament to the power of quiet leadership and the enduring impact of those who operate behind the scenes. As we delve deeper into her life, we will uncover the many ways in which Isabella shaped the destiny of an empire and left an indelible mark on history. Isabella of Portugal was born into a world of power, wealth, and ambition. The Portuguese court, under the rule of her father, King Manuel I, was not just a center of governance but a hub of global influence, thriving from the riches of exploration and trade. The year 1503 marked a golden age for Portugal, and Isabella's birth on October 24th in Lisbon was seen as a continuation of her family's legacy. She was the eldest daughter of Manuel I and Maria of Aragon, herself a Spanish princess, which made Isabella a bridge between 2 of the most powerful Iberian kingdoms. From a young age, Isabella's life was meticulously crafted to reflect her royal standing. The Portuguese court, rich in art, literature, and theological discourse, was her first school. Educators brought from across Europe ensured that she mastered the classical curriculum of her time. She was taught Latin, theology, and rhetoric, subjects deemed essential for any royal woman. But Isabella went beyond the basics. Her keen intellect was evident early on. She not only absorbed her lessons but actively engaged with her tutors, challenging ideas and pushing the boundaries of what was traditionally expected of a princess. Her mother, Maria, was a figure of quiet strength and devotion, heavily influencing Isabella's early years. Maria instilled in her daughter a deep sense of piety, a trait that would remain central to Isabella throughout her life. Religion was not merely a private affair for Isabella. It was an integral part of her identity and would later define much of her role as queen and regent. Watching her mother manage the complexities of the Portuguese court, Isabella also learned the subtle art of influence, how to navigate between rival factions, secure alliances, and maintain the loyalty of those around her. The court itself was a microcosm of the world Portugal was building. Explorers like Vasco da Gama had opened new trade routes to India, while Pedro Álvares Cabral had claimed Brazil for the Portuguese crown. These feats brought immense wealth, and Isabella grew up amid the splendor this success afforded. Yet, the Portuguese court was not without its challenges. The pressures of maintaining such a vast empire required constant vigilance and diplomacy, lessons that Isabella absorbed as she observed her father's reign. Isabella's beauty was often noted by contemporaries, but it was her composure and intellect that truly set her apart. Chroniclers of the time described her as possessing an almost regal bearing from childhood. a trait that made her an appealing candidate for marriage alliances across Europe. Indeed, as Isabella entered her teenage years, her name was discussed in royal courts far and wide. The daughter of Manuel I and Maria of Aragon was not just a princess. She was a political asset, a potential bride whose union could cement alliances and alter the balance of power in Europe. For much of her early life, marriage negotiations swirled around Isabella. Initially, there were discussions of her marrying John III of Portugal, her cousin, to keep the Portuguese crown's influence consolidated within the family. However, these plans shifted as the political landscape of Europe evolved. The rise of the Habsburg Dynasty, spearheaded by Charles V, presented new opportunities and challenges for the Portuguese throne. By the early 1520s, it became evident that a union between Isabella and Charles V could serve as a cornerstone for a powerful Iberian alliance. Charles, who had become Holy Roman Emperor in 1519, was a ruler of unparalleled ambition. His domains stretched across Europe and into the Americas, but his position was far from secure. The Protestant Reformation, spearheaded by Martin Luther, was threatening the religious unity of his empire, while rival powers like France and the Ottoman Empire challenged his authority on the battlefield. Charles needed allies, and Portugal, with its wealth and strategic position, was a crucial partner. For Isabella, the prospect of marrying Charles V was both daunting and exciting. She had never met the emperor, but his reputation preceded him. Charles was a man of immense power, described as determined and intelligent, but also burdened by the weight of his empire. He was frequently at war, juggling the demands of his territories while trying to enforce Catholic orthodoxy. Despite his challenges, Charles was seen as the most eligible bachelor in Europe, and a marriage to him would elevate Isabella from a princess of Portugal to an empress of unprecedented scope. The negotiations for their marriage were intricate, involving not only the royal courts of Portugal and Spain but also the Vatican and other European powers. Both sides understood the stakes. This was not just a union of two people but a merging of dynasties, a pact that would shape the future of Europe. Isabella's dowry was substantial, reflecting the wealth of the Portuguese crown, and Charles agreed to formalize the marriage in Spain, signaling his commitment to the Iberian alliance. The wedding took place in March 1526 in Seville, Spain, a city that symbolized the fusion of Christian and Moorish cultures. Much like the union between Charles and Isabella represented the convergence of two great empires, the celebrations were grand, befitting the occasion, with feasts, tournaments, and religious ceremonies that showcased the power and wealth of the Habsburg and Portuguese crowns. For Isabella, it was her introduction to the Spanish court, a place that would become her home and the center of her influence for the rest of her life. Though their marriage was arranged, Charles and Isabella quickly developed a deep respect and affection for one another. Charles admired Isabella's intelligence and trusted her judgment, often seeking her advice on matters of state. Isabella, in turn, provided Charles with the stability and support he needed amid the chaos of his reign. She was not content to remain in the background. Instead, she became an active partner in governance, a role she had been preparing for her entire life. Isabella's transition from a Portuguese princess to the Queen of Spain was not without challenges. The Spanish court was vastly different from the one she had known in Lisbon, and Isabella had to navigate a new political landscape, one marked by competing factions and the ever-present threat of rebellion. Yet, her upbringing had prepared her well, drawing on the lessons she had learned from her mother and her experiences in the Portuguese court. Isabella quickly established herself as a capable and respected figure in the Spanish court. Her early years in Spain were marked by a series of diplomatic successes. As Charles embarked on military campaigns across Europe, Isabella was entrusted with the regency of Spain, a role that required her to manage the kingdom's affairs in his absence. This was no small task. Spain was a complex and diverse realm, encompassing multiple regions with distinct languages, cultures, and traditions. Maintaining unity in such a kingdom required not only administrative skill but also a deep understanding of the people she governed. Isabella proved to be an exceptional regent. She worked tirelessly to uphold the stability of Spain, ensuring that taxes were collected, laws were enforced, and rebellions were suppressed. Her leadership was characterized by a sense of fairness and justice, qualities that endeared her to the Spanish people. She also maintained close communication with Charles, keeping him informed of developments in Spain and offering her counsel on broader imperial matters. Her role as regent was not limited to administration. Isabella also played a crucial role in shaping the cultural and religious identity of Spain. She was a devout Catholic, deeply committed to the Church, and she worked to strengthen its influence in Spain. Her support for religious institutions, including monasteries and universities, helped to foster a sense of spiritual renewal in the kingdom. At the same time, Isabella was a patron of the arts, encouraging the development of literature, music, and painting at the Spanish court. Through her efforts, she helped to create a cultural renaissance that would define Spain's golden age. Isabella's influence extended beyond Spain. As the wife of the Holy Roman Emperor, she was a key figure in the broader Habsburg Empire, providing counsel and support to Charles as he navigated the challenges of his reign. Her presence brought a sense of unity to the Habsburg dominions, symbolizing the alliance between Spain and Portugal and reinforcing the legitimacy of Charles's rule. Through her intelligence, grace, and unwavering commitment to her family and her people, Isabella of Portugal became not only a queen but a force to be reckoned with, a woman whose impact on history continues to be felt to this day. The union of Isabella of Portugal and Charles V in 1526 was not merely a royal wedding, it was a geopolitical masterstroke. Europe, at the time, was a chessboard of alliances, rivalries, and shifting power dynamics. Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor and ruler of the Spanish Empire, stood as the central figure in this volatile landscape. His marriage to Isabella symbolized the merging of two of the most powerful dynasties in Europe, creating an alliance between Spain and Portugal that promised to stabilize the Iberian Peninsula and fortify both kingdoms against external threats. In the weeks leading up to their wedding, Seville transformed into a city of celebration. Streets were adorned with banners, flowers, and tapestries, and the air buzzed with the sound of musicians and the chatter of crowds eager to witness the event. Nobles from across the Habsburg and Portuguese realms flocked to the city, their presence a testament to the significance of the occasion. For Charles, the marriage was not only a personal milestone but also a crucial step in securing the loyalty of his Spanish subjects, who viewed Isabella's Portuguese heritage as a bridge between the two kingdoms. Isabella, upon her arrival in Seville, was met with a mix of curiosity and admiration. She was known for her beauty, intelligence, and composure, qualities that immediately won her the respect of the Spanish court. Dressed in regal splendor, she carried herself with a dignity that belied any nervousness she might have felt about the monumental role she was about to assume. Her first meeting with Charles, held in private, set the tone for their relationship, though they had been strangers until that moment. Both were struck by a mutual admiration. Charles later remarked to his confidants that Isabella was every bit as wise and graceful as her reputation. The wedding ceremony itself, held on March 10, 1526, was a grand affair, conducted in the Cathedral of Seville. It was presided over by high-ranking clergy and attended by a veritable who's who of European nobility. The vows exchanged between Charles and Isabella symbolized not just their personal commitment, but also the unity of their respective realms. After the ceremony, the celebrations continued for days, with feasts, tournaments, and performances that showcased the wealth and culture of the Habsburg and Portuguese courts. For the Spanish people, the marriage was a moment of pride and optimism, a symbol of stability in a time of uncertainty. Despite the political nature of their union, Charles and Isabella's marriage quickly blossomed into a genuine partnership. Charles, who often found himself surrounded by sycophants and schemers, valued Isabella's candor and insight. He frequently sought her advice on matters of state, finding in her a confidant who shared his commitment to the well-being of their empire. For Isabella, the marriage offered her an opportunity to exercise the skills she had honed during her years in the Portuguese court. She was not content to remain in the background. Instead, she actively engaged in governance, earning the respect of courtiers and advisors alike. Their early years together were marked by a sense of mutual support and shared purpose. Charles, burdened by the demands of ruling a vast and fragmented empire, relied on Isabella to manage the affairs of Spain during his frequent absences. Isabella, in turn, proved to be an adept regent, overseeing the kingdom with a firm but fair hand. She worked tirelessly to maintain stability, addressing the concerns of her subjects while ensuring that the royal treasury remained solvent. Her ability to balance the needs of the crown with the realities of governance made her an invaluable partner to Charles. Isabella's influence extended beyond the political realm. She played a key role in shaping the cultural life of the Spanish court, fostering a renaissance of art, literature, and music. Patron of the arts, she supported the work of painters, composers, and scholars, many of whom would go on to define the golden age of Spain. Her own piety and devotion to the Catholic faith set the tone for the court, reinforcing its role as a center of spiritual and cultural leadership. Isabella's presence brought a sense of refinement and stability to the court, qualities that were appreciated by nobles and commoners alike. Yet, the marriage was not without its challenges. Charles's responsibilities as Holy Roman Emperor often took him away from Spain, leaving Isabella to govern in his absence. These separations were difficult for both of them, but they also underscored the trust and confidence Charles placed in Isabella. Letters exchanged between the two during these periods reveal a deep bond of affection and mutual respect. Charles often expressed his gratitude for Isabella's steadfastness, while Isabella offered words of encouragement and support, reminding him of the strength they drew from their partnership. One of the most significant challenges they faced together was the Protestant Reformation, which was reshaping the religious landscape of Europe. As a devout Catholic, Isabella shared Charles's commitment to preserving the unity of Christendom. She provided unwavering support for his efforts to counter the spread of Protestantism, both through military campaigns and diplomatic initiatives. At the same time, she worked to strengthen the Catholic Church within Spain, promoting reforms that sought to address corruption and enhance the spiritual life of the clergy and laity. In 1527, Isabella gave birth to their first son, Philip, who would later become Philip II of Spain. The birth of an heir was a moment of great joy and relief for the royal couple, as it secured the continuity of their dynasty. Isabella's role as a mother was as significant as her role as a queen. She took an active interest in her children's upbringing, ensuring that they received the best education and instilling in them the values of faith, duty, and loyalty. Her influence on Philip, in particular, would shape his character and his approach to governance, laying the foundation for his eventual reign. The years that followed were a period of relative stability for Charles and Isabella, though the challenges of ruling such a vast empire were never far away. Isabella continued to serve as regent during Charles's absences, earning the admiration of the Spanish people for her dedication and competence. She worked tirelessly to address the needs of her subjects, from managing the kingdom's finances to ensuring that justice was administered fairly. Her efforts helped to strengthen the bond between the crown and its people, creating a sense of unity that would prove crucial in the years to come. As their marriage matured, Charles and Isabella's relationship deepened. They shared not only a commitment to their empire, but also a genuine affection for one another. Charles often spoke of Isabella as his greatest treasure, a sentiment that reflected the depth of their partnership. For Isabella, Charles was not just a husband, but also a kindred spirit, someone who understood the burdens of leadership and shared her vision for the future of their dynasty. The marriage of Isabella and Charles was more than a personal union. It was a cornerstone of European politics in the 16th century, Together, they navigated the challenges of their time, from religious upheaval to the complexities of governing a vast and diverse empire. Isabella's intelligence, grace, and unwavering dedication made her an indispensable partner to Charles, while her influence on the Spanish court helped to shape the cultural and political identity of the kingdom. As the years passed, the bond between Isabella and Charles remained strong, a testament to their shared values and mutual respect. Their marriage was a rare example of a royal union that combined love, partnership, and political purpose, leaving a legacy that would endure for generations to come. Isabella's role as queen and consort was not just to support Charles, but to actively contribute to the success of their empire, a legacy that would cement her place in history as one of the most remarkable women of her time. When Isabella of Portugal married Charles V, she likely understood that her role as queen would be demanding. What she could not have fully anticipated was how often she would find herself in the role of regent, wielding the authority of the Spanish crown in her husband's absence. Charles V's vast empire, spanning Europe and the Americas, required his constant attention and frequent travel, leaving Spain, the heart of his dominion, in Isabella's capable hands. Her tenure as regent not only proved her administrative skill, but also solidified her reputation as a queen of exceptional ability and vision. Charles's frequent absences began soon after their marriage. As Holy Roman Emperor, he was embroiled in military campaigns, diplomatic negotiations, and attempts to suppress the Protestant Reformation, while he journeyed across Europe, leading armies and convening councils. He entrusted the governance of Spain to Isabella. It was a heavy burden, but one that Isabella carried with remarkable grace and competence. From 1529 to 1533, during Charles's prolonged stay in Italy and subsequent campaigns in the Low Countries, Isabella effectively ruled Spain, overseeing matters of state with authority and wisdom. Isabella's regency was not merely symbolic. She wielded real power and made crucial decisions. Spain in the 16th century was a complex and diverse kingdom, encompassing Castile, Aragon, Navarre, and other regions, each with its own laws, customs, and languages. Maintaining unity and stability in such a kingdom required not only administrative acumen but also the ability to mediate between competing factions. Isabella approached this task with a pragmatic and conciliatory attitude, earning the loyalty of her subjects and the respect of the Spanish nobility. One of Isabella's first challenges as regent was to address the kingdom's finances. The demands of empire, coupled with the costs of Charles's military campaigns, had strained the royal treasury. Isabella worked closely with her advisors to implement fiscal reforms, increasing revenues without overburdening her subjects. She also took a keen interest in trade, recognizing its importance to Spain's economy. Under her guidance, the crown strengthened its control over the lucrative trade routes connecting Spain to its colonies in the Americas, ensuring a steady flow of wealth into the kingdom. Isabella's governance was marked by a strong sense of justice. She took her responsibilities as regent seriously, personally reviewing petitions from her subjects and intervening in disputes when necessary. Her efforts to ensure fair treatment for all, regardless of status, earned her the admiration of the Spanish people. Chronicles of the time describe her as a queen who listened to her subjects with compassion and ruled with a firm but gentle hand. This combination of empathy and decisiveness was a hallmark of her regency. Religious unity was another of Isabella's priorities. Like her husband, she was deeply committed to the Catholic Church and viewed the Protestant Reformation as a grave threat to Christendom. While Charles fought to suppress Protestantism in the Holy Roman Empire, Isabella worked to strengthen Catholicism in Spain. She supported the establishment of new religious institutions, funded the construction of churches and monasteries, and promoted the education of the clergy. Her piety and devotion inspired those around her, and her efforts contributed to Spain's reputation as the defender of the Catholic faith. During Isabella's regency, Spain also began to assert its dominance in the New World. The Spanish colonies in the Americas were a source of immense wealth but also of complex challenges. Isabella oversaw the administration of these colonies, ensuring that the crown maintained control over their governance and resources. She was particularly concerned with the treatment of indigenous peoples, advocating for policies that sought to protect them from exploitation. While these efforts were often undermined by colonial officials and settlers, they reflected Isabella's commitment to justice and her understanding of the moral responsibilities of empire. One of Isabella's greatest strengths as regent was her ability to inspire loyalty and unity. She understood the importance of maintaining good relations with the Spanish nobility, who wielded significant power in their respective regions. Through her diplomacy and tact, she was able to secure their cooperation, ensuring that Spain remained stable even during times of political and military upheaval. Her ability to balance the interests of the crown with those of the nobility was a testament to her political skill and her deep understanding of governance. Isabella's regency was not without its challenges. The pressures of ruling a kingdom, coupled with the absence of her husband, placed a significant strain on her. Yet she remained steadfast in her duties, driven by a sense of loyalty to Charles and a commitment to the people of Spain. Her letters to Charles during this period reveal the depth of her dedication, as well as her keen insight into the complexities of governance. She kept him informed of developments in Spain, offered her opinions on matters of state, and provided him with the emotional support he needed to navigate the challenges of his reign. The relationship between Isabella and Charles during these years was one of mutual respect and partnership. Charles trusted Isabella implicitly, knowing that she would manage Spain with the same care and diligence that he would. In turn, Isabella viewed her role as regent not as a burden but as a responsibility she was honored to bear. Their letters reveal a deep bond of affection and admiration, with Charles often expressing his gratitude for Isabella's unwavering support and Isabella reassuring him of her loyalty and love. The legacy of Isabella's regency was profound. Her leadership during Charles's absences ensured that Spain remained stable and prosperous, even in the face of external and internal challenges. She demonstrated that a queen could be as effective a ruler as a king, earning the respect of her contemporaries and the admiration of historians. Her regency also set a precedent for future queens of Spain, proving that women could play a central role in governance and contribute to the success of the kingdom. As Charles returned to Spain in 1533, he found a realm that had been well cared for in his absence, a testament to Isabella's skill as regent. Their reunion was a joyful one, marked by a renewed sense of partnership and shared purpose. Together, they continued to build the foundations of the Spanish Empire, guided by a vision of unity, faith, and prosperity. For Isabella, the years of her regency were among her greatest achievements, a chapter in her life that showcased her strength, intelligence, and unwavering dedication to her family and her people. As Isabella settled into her dual role as queen and regent, her influence began to reshape the Spanish court and the broader Habsburg Empire. Isabella was not content to be a figurehead. She was deeply involved in governance, culture, and the spiritual life of her realm. While Charles V grappled with the demands of his vast empire across Europe and beyond, Isabella remained a steady anchor in Spain, nurturing the foundations of what would become one of the most powerful kingdoms in history. Isabella's vision for Spain was rooted in her devotion to the Catholic Church. Her piety was not simply a personal trait but a guiding principle for her rule. In a time of great religious upheaval, she became a staunch defender of Catholic orthodoxy, working tirelessly to preserve and strengthen the Church's influence within Spain. Her efforts complemented Charles's campaigns against Protestantism in the Holy Roman Empire, making the royal couple a united front in the battle for the soul of Christendom. One of Isabella's most significant contributions was her patronage of religious reform. The Catholic Church in Spain, like much of Europe, was facing calls for reform in response to accusations of corruption and decadence. Isabella supported efforts to address these issues, encouraging the establishment of new religious orders and the education of clergy. She worked closely with Cardinal Francisco Jiménez de Cisneros, a key figure in Spanish religious reform, to ensure that the church remained a moral and spiritual guide for the people. Isabella's commitment to religion extended to her personal life. She was known for her regular attendance at Massachusetts, her personal acts of charity, and her sponsorship of religious institutions. Under her guidance, the Spanish court became a center of piety and devotion, setting an example for the nobility and the broader population. Her faith was a source of strength, not only for herself but also for those around her, who admired her unwavering commitment to her beliefs. In addition to her religious influence, Isabella played a crucial role in shaping the cultural identity of Spain. She was a patron of the arts, fostering a flourishing of creativity that would come to define the Spanish Golden Age. Painters, poets, and musicians found support and inspiration at her court, producing works that celebrated the glory of Spain and the Catholic faith. Isabella's own appreciation for art and literature was evident in her personal collection, which included illuminated manuscripts, religious paintings, and classical texts. Isabella's cultural patronage extended beyond the arts to the sciences and education. She recognized the importance of knowledge and innovation in maintaining Spain's power and prestige. Her court welcomed scholars and intellectuals from across Europe, creating an environment where ideas could flourish. This intellectual climate contributed to advancements in fields such as navigation, agriculture, and medicine, further strengthening Spain's position as a global power. One of Isabella's most enduring contributions to Spanish culture was her support for the University of Alcalá. Founded by Cardinal Cisneros in 1499, the university became a center of learning and religious study, producing some of the most influential scholars and theologians of the time. Isabella's patronage ensured that the institution received the resources it needed to thrive, cementing its reputation as a beacon of knowledge and faith. As queen, Isabella also focused on the practicalities of governance, particularly the administration of Spain's burgeoning empire. The discovery of the Americas had opened up vast new territories for Spanish exploration and colonization, bringing immense wealth but also significant challenges. Isabella took a keen interest in the governance of these colonies, advocating for policies that balanced economic exploitation with moral responsibility. She supported efforts to regulate the treatment of indigenous peoples, echoing the principles of justice and compassion that defined her rule. Isabella's influence on Spain's colonial policy was shaped by her sense of duty and her commitment to the Church. She believed that Spain had a divine mission to spread Christianity to the New World, a goal that she pursued with zeal. Her support for missionary efforts helped to establish a strong Catholic presence in the Americas, laying the groundwork for the religious and cultural transformation of the region. At the same time, Isabella was mindful of the challenges faced by the indigenous population, and she encouraged measures to protect their rights and welfare. Her work as queen and regent was not without its challenges. Spain's wealth from the Americas, while immense, often exacerbated social and economic inequalities. Isabella worked to address these issues, implementing policies that sought to ensure a fair distribution of resources. Her efforts were met with resistance from some quarters, particularly among the nobility, who were reluctant to cede their privileges. Nevertheless, Isabella's persistence and sense of justice helped to create a more stable and equitable society. Isabella's influence was not limited to Spain. As the wife of Charles V, she was a central figure in the Habsburg Dynasty, providing counsel and support to her husband as he navigated the complexities of European politics. Isabella's letters to Charles, filled with insights and advice, reveal her deep understanding of international affairs and her commitment to the success of their empire. Her diplomatic acumen and her ability to foster loyalty among her subjects were invaluable assets to Charles as he pursued his ambitious goals. Perhaps one of the most remarkable aspects of Isabella's reign was her ability to balance her many roles. She was a queen, a regent, patron, a mother, and a wife, each role demanding her time and attention. Yet, she managed to excel in all of them, earning the admiration of her contemporaries and the lasting respect of history. Her legacy was not just one of power and influence, but also one of compassion, integrity, and vision. Through her work as a regent and her cultural and religious contributions, Isabella left an indelible mark on Spain and the Habsburg Empire. She was more than just a queen. She was a leader, a visionary, and a force for good in a tumultuous time. Her influence on Charles, her children, and her people was profound, shaping the course of history in ways that continue to be felt to this day. As Isabella continued to shape the destiny of Spain, her role as a mother became increasingly significant. The children she bore with Charles would inherit her values and her vision, carrying forward the legacy of one of Europe's most remarkable queens. The years ahead would bring both triumphs and tragedies, but through it all, Isabella's strength and wisdom would remain a guiding light for her family and her kingdom. Isabella of Portugal's most enduring legacy was not only her influence as queen and regent, but also her role as a mother. Through her children, particularly Philip II of Spain, she shaped the future of the Habsburg dynasty and left an indelible mark on European history. Her devotion to their upbringing, education, and moral development ensured that the values she cherished, faith, duty, and unity, would endure for generations. The first and most significant of Isabella's children was Philip II, born on May 21, 1527, in Valladolid. From the moment of his birth, Philip was the focus of immense attention and expectation. As the heir to one of the largest empires in the world, he was destined to inherit the crowns of Spain, the Americas, and the Netherlands, as well as potentially play a role in the broader Habsburg dominions. Isabella, acutely aware of the weight of this inheritance, took a hands-on role in his early education, ensuring that he was prepared for the monumental responsibilities that awaited him. Isabella instilled in Philip a deep sense of Catholic piety, mirroring her own unwavering faith. From an early age, Philip was exposed to religious instruction, and Isabella personally oversaw his spiritual education, ensuring that he understood the importance of his role as a defender of the Catholic Church. Her influence shaped his lifelong devotion to Catholicism, which would later define his reign and his policies, particularly in the fight against Protestantism. But Isabella's education for Philip went beyond religion. She ensured that he received a comprehensive education, tailored to the demands of rulership. Philip was taught Latin, law, history, and diplomacy by some of the finest scholars of the time. Isabella also emphasized the importance of learning languages, recognizing that her son's future as a ruler of a diverse empire would require him to communicate with subjects and allies across Europe. Under her guidance, Philip became proficient in Spanish, Portuguese, Latin, and French. Isabella's influence on Philip was not limited to academics. She also sought to shape his character, teaching him the values of humility, discipline, and loyalty. She believed that a king should serve his people with integrity and that the power of the crown came with great responsibility. Her lessons left a lasting impression on Philip, who grew to embody many of the traits she admired. Throughout his reign, he remained deeply committed to the principles of duty and service that his mother had instilled in him. While Philip was the focus of much of Isabella's attention, she was equally devoted to her other children. Her second child, Maria of Austria, was born in 1528 and would go on to play a significant role in the Habsburg dynasty. Like her mother, Maria was intelligent, pious, and politically astute. Isabella ensured that Maria received an education that prepared her for the responsibilities of royal life, including instruction in statecraft and diplomacy. Maria's marriage to her cousin Maximilian II, Holy Roman Emperor, strengthened the ties between the Spanish and Austrian branches of the Habsburg family, furthering Isabella's vision of a united dynasty. Isabella's third surviving child, Joanna of Spain, born in 1535, also benefited from her mother's guidance. Joanna, known for her intelligence and sharp wit, inherited many of Isabella's qualities. Though her life was more private than that of her siblings, she played a crucial role in maintaining the unity of the Habsburg family, particularly through her marriage to Prince João Manuel of Portugal. This union reinforced the alliance between Spain and Portugal, ensuring the continued strength of the Iberian Peninsula. Isabella's role as a mother was not without its challenges. The demands of her position often required her to balance her responsibilities as queen and regent with her duties to her children. She faced long periods of separation from her husband, Charles V, who was frequently away on military campaigns and diplomatic missions. During these times, Isabella took on the dual roles of parent and ruler, managing the affairs of the kingdom while also ensuring the well-being of her family. One of the most poignant aspects of Isabella's motherhood was her unwavering support for her children, even in the face of personal tragedy. In 1539, Isabella gave birth to a son who did not survive, a devastating loss that took a toll on her health. Despite her grief, she remained focused on her duties, both as queen and as a mother to her surviving children. Her resilience in the face of adversity was a testament to her strength and determination, qualities that would leave a lasting impression on her family. Isabella's influence on her children extended beyond their upbringing. It shaped their reigns and their contributions to European history. Philip II, in particular, carried forward her vision of a strong, unified, and devoutly Catholic empire. Under his rule, Spain reached the height of its power, becoming the dominant force in Europe and the Americas. Philip's policies, including his staunch opposition to Protestantism and his support for the Counter-Reformation, were deeply rooted in the values instilled in him by his mother. Maria of Austria, as Empress consort, played a vital role in the Holy Roman Empire, supporting her husband Maximilian II and ensuring the continuation of Habsburg influence in Central Europe. Her diplomatic skills and her commitment to the Catholic faith were a reflection of Isabella's teachings. Similarly, Joanna's contributions to the Iberian alliance between Spain and Portugal helped to maintain the stability of the region, furthering Isabella's vision of unity. Isabella's legacy as a mother was profound. She not only raised her children to be effective rulers, but also instilled in them a sense of purpose and responsibility that transcended their individual reigns. Through her guidance and her example, she ensured that the Habsburg dynasty remained a force for stability and faith in a rapidly changing world. Her influence on Philip II, Maria of Austria, and Joanna of Spain was a testament to her wisdom and her unwavering commitment to her family and her empire. Even after Isabella's untimely death in 1539, her presence continued to shape the lives of her children and the course of European history. Charles V, devastated by her loss, carried her memory with him for the rest of his life, drawing strength from the lessons she had taught him and the legacy she had built. Her children, in turn, carried forward her vision, ensuring that the values she cherished, faith, unity, and service, remained at the heart of the Habsburg dynasty for generations to come. The life of Isabella of Portugal was marked by remarkable achievements and profound influence, but her story also carried the weight of tragedy. By the late 1530s, Isabella had firmly established herself as a queen, regent, and mother whose contributions were pivotal to the stability of the Spanish Empire and the broader Habsburg dynasty. Yet, the demands of her roles and the strains of her responsibilities would ultimately take a toll on her health, leading to a devastating loss that would forever alter the course of her family and empire. In the spring of 1539, Isabella was pregnant with her sixth child. Despite her rigorous responsibilities as queen and regent, she approached her pregnancy with the same steadfastness that had defined her character. However, complications arose during childbirth, and the child, a boy, was stillborn. The physical toll of the delivery, combined with the grief of losing her child, severely weakened Isabella. She fell ill shortly afterward and, despite the efforts of the finest physicians available, her condition rapidly deteriorated. On May 1st, 1539, Isabella passed away at the age of 35 in Toledo. Her death was a profound shock to the Spanish court and the Habsburg dynasty. She had been a figure of stability and grace, a queen who had not only ruled with wisdom and compassion, but had also been the emotional and intellectual anchor of her family. For her husband, Charles V, her death was a personal and political catastrophe. Charles, often portrayed as a stoic and reserved ruler, was utterly devastated by Isabella's passing. The loss of his beloved wife marked a turning point in his life. Both personally and as a ruler, he plunged into a deep period of mourning, retreating from public life for weeks. The depth of his grief was evident to all who surrounded him. He refused to remarry, declaring that no woman could replace Isabella in his heart. For the rest of his life, Charles carried a portrait of Isabella with him, keeping her memory close even as he continued to shoulder the burdens of empire. Isabella's death created a void in the governance of Spain. Her role as regent during Charles's frequent absences had been critical to the stability of the kingdom. With her gone, Charles was forced to rely on a network of advisors and administrators to manage Spain, a task that proved challenging given the complexities of the empire. While Charles continued to oversee his vast territories, the absence of Isabella's steady hand was deeply felt. The impact of Isabella's death extended beyond the court. Among the Spanish people, she was mourned as a queen who had genuinely cared for their well-being. Her fairness, compassion, and dedication to justice had endeared her to her subjects, and her loss was felt as a national tragedy. The chronicles of the time speak of the profound sense of grief that swept through the kingdom, a testament to the deep bond Isabella had forged with her people. For Isabella's children, the loss of their mother was equally devastating. Philip, Maria, and Joanna were all young at the time of her death, and Isabella had been a guiding force in their lives. Philip, who was only 12 years old, was particularly affected. Isabella's influence on him had been profound, shaping his faith, values, and understanding of leadership. Her absence left a void that would shape the course of his life and reign. Throughout his time as king, Philip would often invoke his mother's memory, seeking to honor the principles she had instilled in him. Maria and Joanna, though younger, also carried their mother's legacy forward. Isabella's teachings and example remained a guiding influence as they navigated the challenges of royal life. Both women inherited their mother's intelligence and piety, traits that would serve them well in their roles within the Habsburg dynasty. For Charles, Isabella's death marked the beginning of a slow but irreversible shift in his outlook. While he continued to govern with the same determination that had defined his reign, he began to retreat from the public sphere, increasingly delegating responsibilities to trusted advisors and family members. His decision to abdicate in 1556 and retire to the monastery of Yusti was, in many ways, a reflection of the loss he had suffered. The memory of Isabella remained with him during his final years, a source of solace and inspiration as he reflected on their shared legacy. Despite the tragedy of her untimely death, Isabella's influence endured through her children and the institutions she had helped to strengthen. The stability she had fostered in Spain, her contributions to the Catholic Reformation, and her role in shaping the Habsburg dynasty left an indelible mark on European history. Her life, though cut short, was a testament to the power of quiet leadership, intelligence, and unwavering faith. Isabella of Portugal's story is one of triumph and loss, a narrative that underscores the complexities of power, love, and duty in an age of empires. Though her life ended in tragedy, her legacy lived on, shaping the destiny of Spain and the Habsburg dynasty for generations to come. Her memory, cherished by those who knew her, became a symbol of the enduring strength and grace that defined her life. Isabella of Portugal's legacy did not end with her untimely death in 1539. In fact, her influence endured through the lives and actions of her children, who carried forward the values, principles, and vision she had instilled in them. Each of her three surviving children, Philip II of Spain, Maria of Austria, and Joanna of Spain, played pivotal roles in shaping the course of European history, ensuring that Isabella's impact resonated far beyond her own lifetime. Philip II of Spain, the heir to the empire. Philip II, Isabella's eldest son, was just 12 years old when she passed away. Despite his youth, the lessons imparted by his mother had already begun to shape his character and outlook. Isabella's emphasis on duty, faith, and discipline became the cornerstones of Philip's reign as King of Spain, a position he assumed in 1556 upon Charles V's abdication. Philip's reign is often characterized as the height of Spanish power, with the kingdom reaching its zenith as a global empire. Under his leadership, Spain became the foremost champion of the Catholic Counter-Reformation, waging wars against Protestant states and rival powers in defense of Catholicism. Philip's deeply religious nature, instilled in him by Isabella, was the driving force behind his policies. His devout Catholicism shaped not only his domestic reforms but also his foreign policy, leading to iconic events such as the naval victory at the Battle of Lepanto in 1571 and the ill-fated Spanish Armada in 1588. Beyond religion, Philip's meticulous approach to governance reflected his mother's teachings. Isabella had instilled in him the importance of responsibility and attention to detail, qualities that defined Philip's rule. He centralized Spanish administration, improved the kingdom's financial systems, and oversaw vast colonial enterprises in the Americas and Asia. While his reign faced significant challenges, including financial crises and rebellions, Philip's unyielding commitment to his mother's vision of a united and Catholic empire ensured Spain's place as a dominant force in the world. Maria of Austria, the diplomatic empress. Maria of Austria, Isabella's second child, inherited her mother's intelligence, poise, and political acumen. Born in 1528, Maria was raised under Isabella's watchful eye, receiving an education that emphasized diplomacy, governance, and faith. These qualities made her an ideal candidate for marriage to her cousin, Maximilian II, who would later become Holy Roman Emperor. As Empress consort of the Holy Roman Empire, Maria played a crucial role in maintaining the unity and strength of the Habsburg dynasty. Her diplomatic skills were instrumental in navigating the complex religious and political landscape of Central Europe during the Reformation. While Maximilian II adopted a more moderate stance toward Protestantism, Maria remained a steadfast advocate for Catholicism, working to preserve the faith within the empire. Maria's influence extended beyond religion. She was deeply involved in the cultural and intellectual life of the court, patronizing artists, scholars, and religious figures. Her efforts helped to foster a cultural renaissance within the Habsburg territories, echoing the artistic and intellectual patronage that Isabella had championed in Spain. Maria's role as a mother was equally significant. She bore 15 children, many of whom went on to play key roles in European politics, furthering the Habsburg dynasty's influence. Her ability to balance her responsibilities as empress, wife, and mother reflected the values instilled in her by Isabella, ensuring that her mother's legacy continued to shape the course of European history. Joanna of Spain, the Iberian Bridge. Joanna of Spain, Isabella's youngest surviving child, was born in 1535 and grew up under her mother's guidance until Isabella's death. Joanna's life was marked by her role as a unifying figure between Spain and Portugal, a legacy of Isabella's efforts to strengthen ties between the two kingdoms. Joanna married her cousin João Manuel, Prince of Portugal, in 1552. This union was part of a broader strategy to reinforce the alliance between the Iberian crowns. Although João Manuel's untimely death in 1554 cut short their marriage, Joanna gave birth to their son, Sebastian, who would later become King Sebastian I of Portugal. Joanna's role as the mother of a Portuguese king reinforced the ties between the Habsburgs and the Portuguese monarchy, ensuring that Isabella's vision of a united Iberian peninsula endured. Following her husband's death, Joanna returned to Spain, where she lived a relatively private life while continuing to support her family's political and dynastic ambitions. Her contributions to the stability and unity of the Iberian crowns reflected the values and priorities that Isabella had instilled in her, further cementing her mother's enduring legacy. A dynasty shaped by Isabella. Through her children, Isabella of Portugal's influence extended to nearly every corner of Europe. Her teachings and example shaped the policies, decisions, and values of her descendants, ensuring that her legacy endured long after her death. The Habsburg Dynasty, under the leadership of her children and grandchildren, became a dominant force in European politics, guided by the principles of faith, duty, and unity that Isabella had championed. Even as Europe entered an era of unprecedented change and conflict, the foundations laid by Isabella continued to hold strong. Her emphasis on education, religion, and governance left an indelible mark on her family, ensuring that they were prepared to navigate the challenges of their time. Through Philip II's empire building, Maria's diplomacy, and Joanna's role in uniting Spain and Portugal, Isabella's vision for a strong, unified, and devout Catholic dynasty was realized. Isabella's children were not merely her heirs, they were her legacy, carrying forward her ideals and shaping the future of Europe. Her life, though tragically short, had a ripple effect that extended across generations, influencing the course of history in ways that continue to be felt to this day. The story of Isabella of Portugal is not just the story of a queen. It is the story of a mother whose love, guidance, and vision shaped the destiny of an empire and left a legacy that would endure for centuries. Isabella of Portugal was often described by her contemporaries as a queen who stood in the shadow of her husband, Charles V, yet history reveals that her contributions as a partner, regent, and mother were integral to the success and longevity of the Habsburg Empire. While Charles commanded armies, negotiated treaties, and waged war against Protestant reformers, Isabella worked tirelessly behind the scenes to maintain the stability of Spain and to preserve the unity of their empire. Her legacy, though less celebrated, was no less profound, a testament to the power of quiet, steadfast leadership, a stabilizing force. During Charles V's frequent absences from Spain, Isabella was not merely a placeholder for her husband's authority. She was the heart of the Spanish court and the anchor of its governance. Isabella's regencies during the 1520s and 1530s ensured that Spain remained stable in an era marked by upheaval and uncertainty. Her ability to mediate between rival factions, enforce royal authority, and maintain the loyalty of the Spanish nobility allowed Charles to focus on the broader challenges of his empire without fear of unrest at home. Isabella's role as a regent was defined by her pragmatism and decisiveness. She addressed economic challenges with a steady hand, implementing reforms that increased revenues while balancing the needs of her subjects. She also strengthened the military defenses of Spain, fortifying key territories and ensuring that the kingdom was prepared to face external threats. Her administrative acumen complemented Charles's strategic vision, creating a partnership that was both effective and enduring. A visionary leader, though Isabella often deferred to Charles in matters of state, her influence on policy was significant. She was a staunch advocate for the Catholic faith and worked closely with religious leaders to strengthen the Church's influence within Spain. Her support for the Inquisition, though controversial, reflected her belief in the importance of religious unity as a cornerstone of stability. At the same time, Isabella's piety and personal acts of charity endeared her to the Spanish people, who viewed her as a queen of profound moral integrity. Isabella's cultural contributions were equally impactful. Her patronage of the arts, education, and scholarship fostered a renaissance within Spain that enriched its cultural identity and bolstered its prestige on the world stage. By supporting artists, architects, and scholars, Isabella helped to create a flourishing intellectual and artistic environment that would define Spain's golden age. These efforts were not just a reflection of her personal interests but a strategic investment in the kingdom's future. ensuring that Spain's cultural achievements matched its political and military dominance. Partner in empire. Isabella's relationship with Charles was a partnership built on mutual respect and admiration. While Charles was often preoccupied with the challenges of ruling a vast and fragmented empire, Isabella provided him with emotional support and wise counsel. Their correspondence during Charles's absences reveals a deep bond, with Isabella offering insights into governance and updates on the state of Spain. Charles, in turn, frequently expressed his gratitude for her steadfastness and relied on her judgment in matters of state. The depth of their partnership was evident in the trust Charles placed in Isabella. He granted her unprecedented authority as regent, confident in her ability to govern in his stead. This trust was not misplaced. Isabella proved herself to be a ruler of remarkable skill, managing the complexities of the Spanish Empire with a level of competence that rivaled her husband's. Together, they formed a united front, embodying the ideals of Catholic monarchy and Habsburg unity, a legacy overlooked. Despite her significant contributions, Isabella's role in history has often been overshadowed by the larger-than-life figure of Charles V. As Holy Roman Emperor, Charles dominated the political landscape of 16th-century Europe, and his achievements, both triumphs and failures, have been the focus of historical narratives. Isabella, by contrast, has been relegated to the background, remembered primarily as his consort and the mother of Philip II. This oversight does not diminish the importance of Isabella's legacy. Her quiet leadership, moral integrity, and unwavering dedication to her family and her kingdom were foundational to the success of the Habsburg dynasty. Without her stabilizing presence, Charles's ability to govern his empire effectively would have been significantly compromised. Isabella's work behind the scenes ensured that Spain remained a strong and cohesive kingdom, providing the foundation upon which Charles and his successors could build. An empress eternal, the impact of Isabella's life and leadership extended far beyond her death. Through her children, she continued to shape the course of European history. Philip II's devotion to Catholicism, Maria of Austria's diplomatic skill, and Joanna of Spain's role in uniting Iberian crowns all reflected the values and principles Isabella had instilled in them. Her influence on the Habsburg dynasty was not merely a reflection of her position as a mother but a testament to her vision for a united and prosperous empire. Charles V's enduring grief for Isabella is perhaps the most poignant reflection of her importance. In his later years, as he abdicated his thrones and retired to the monastery of Yusti, Charles carried with him a portrait of Isabella, a symbol of the love and partnership that had defined his reign. He often spoke of her as his greatest treasure, a sentiment that captured the depth of their bond and the extent of her impact on his life and his legacy. Isabella of Portugal may have been unseen in the grand narratives of her time, but her contributions were no less vital. She was the unseen empress, a queen whose quiet strength, intelligence, and compassion shaped the destiny of an empire and left an indelible mark on history. Her story is a reminder that the greatest leaders are not always those who dominate the spotlight, but those who work tirelessly behind the scenes, building a legacy that endures for generations. The story of Isabella of Portugal concludes not with her death, but with the enduring legacy she left behind, a legacy intertwined with the life of her husband, Charles V, and the Habsburg dynasty she helped to shape. As the years passed after her death in 1539, Isabella's influence lingered in the hearts of those who knew her, in the actions of her children, and in the course of European history. Charles V, a life marked by loss. After Isabella's passing, Charles V was a changed man. Her death deeply affected him, not only as a personal loss but also as the loss of a trusted partner and confidant. Charles had relied on Isabella for her wisdom and stability, and her absence left a void that he struggled to fill. Though he continued to govern his empire with determination, his letters and actions revealed a man haunted by grief. Charles carried Isabella's memory with him for the rest of his life. Portrait of her, painted during their happier years together, was his constant companion, In moments of reflection, he would gaze upon it, recalling the strength and grace she had brought to their partnership. Isabella had been more than a queen to Charles. She had been his equal, his advisor, and his closest ally. In 1556, after years of managing a vast and complex empire, Charles V abdicated his thrones. He divided his territories, passing the Spanish crown to their son, Philip II, and the Holy Roman Empire to his brother, Ferdinand. Charles retired to the monastery of Yuste in Spain, seeking solace and peace in his final years. There, amid the quiet of monastic life, he continued to honor Isabella's memory. He spoke often of her, and her image adorned the walls of his modest chambers. Charles died in 1558, nearly 2 decades after Isabella's death. His final moments were marked by a sense of reunion, as he believed he would soon be reunited with his beloved wife in the afterlife. His devotion to Isabella, even in death, underscored the profound bond they had shared and the enduring impact she had on his life. The legacy of Isabella's children. Isabella's greatest legacy lay in her children, who carried forward her vision for a strong, unified, and devout Habsburg dynasty. Philip II, her eldest son, ascended to the Spanish throne and ruled during the empire's peak of power and influence. Guided by the principles instilled in him by Isabella, Philip worked tirelessly to uphold Catholic orthodoxy and expand Spanish dominance across Europe and the New World. His reign was a testament to the values of duty, discipline, and faith that his mother had taught him. Maria of Austria, Isabella's daughter, became a pivotal figure in the Holy Roman Empire. As Empress consort, she supported her husband, Maximilian II, and helped to navigate the religious and political challenges of the Reformation. Her diplomatic skills and steadfast commitment to Catholicism reflected Isabella's influence, ensuring that the Habsburg dynasty remained a stabilizing force in Central Europe. Joanna of Spain, Isabella's youngest child, played a crucial role in maintaining the alliance between Spain and Portugal. As the mother of King Sebastian I of Portugal, she ensured that Isabella's vision of a united Iberian Peninsula continued to guide the region's political and dynastic strategies. Isabella's enduring influence. Isabella's impact extended far beyond her immediate family. Through her regencies, she had established a model of leadership that inspired future queens and regents. Her dedication to justice, her cultural patronage, and her unwavering faith set a standard for rulers across Europe. Even in the centuries that followed, Isabella was remembered as a queen who had balanced the demands of power with the virtues of compassion and integrity. Her cultural contributions, particularly her patronage of the arts and education, helped to lay the groundwork for Spain's golden age. The universities, religious institutions, and artistic movements she supported flourished, creating a legacy of intellectual and cultural achievement that would define Spain for generations. The eternal partner. Isabella of Portugal's life was one of quiet strength and profound influence. Though she often worked behind the scenes, her contributions were foundational to the success of the Habsburg Empire. She was a queen, a regent, a mother, and a partner, roles she fulfilled with grace and determination. Her story is a reminder that the greatest leaders are not always those who dominate the battlefield or the political stage, but those who build legacies of stability, unity, and purpose. As Charles V lay dying in the monastery of Yuste, he reportedly spoke of Isabella with his final breaths. Her memory, etched into his heart, was a source of comfort in his final moments. In the end, Isabella and Charles were not just rulers, they were partners in every sense of the word, united by a shared vision and a profound love that transcended the burdens of empire. Isabella's life may have been cut short, but her influence endured in the empire she helped to shape and the family she nurtured. Her legacy is woven into the fabric of European history, a testament to the power of quiet leadership and unwavering faith. In the annals of time, Isabella of Portugal will forever remain the unseen empress, the eternal partner who shaped the destiny of an empire and left a mark that endures to this day.